Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to share a simple setup or strategy that I use to trade futures. I know the newer traders tend to look for new strategies and just kind of something simple. And I feel this indicator and kind of setup is pretty quite easy to trade. Right now, I've been trading futures, but I used it for trading stocks and options in the past. It's very simple to use. Just to be on the lookout for. Trading right now through Apex Funded Trader Program. If you look in the comments, see a promo code for 50% off. Feel free to use that. But right now, I just want to talk about the setup here. The first thing we look for in a squeeze, I like to look for, is kind of a downtrend. In this particular case, what I do is I like to draw a trend line first. Once the downtrend starts to reverse a little bit, I like to draw this trend line here. And then the second thing I look for is the actual red dots here. That's telling me that there's consolidation building up, and the yellow here bars are the momentum. So what I look for is, one, you got this hold of the trend line. Two, we're in a squeeze here. Three, you see these long wicks kind of coming in every time we're touching this trend line. So that's telling me buyers are coming in off this trend. Okay, so once I confirm that the trend's there, it's holding support, we got this squeeze, momentum's going up, we're also coming up on the RSI as well as the MACD trending up. This is a good entry for me, where I usually typically trade the trend line. I'll try to get in around at support here if I can. Maybe if I see a longer squeeze or something that triggers that, maybe I'll be more aggressive and buy up here. But typically I like to buy along this trend line. So that being said, when you see these red dots, the more red dots are, the more powerful the move is. You can see over here we had a squeeze right here and just started forming back here and build up, and this kind of caught a big move down here. So what I'm really looking for is, after a big move down, typically I like to see some reversal. This is what I use for reversal, is the squeeze indicator. So after a downtrend, look for reversal to the upside, draw that trend line, see if you're in a squeeze, check the indicators. As price keeps making these higher lows and following the trend, look for consolidation and the squeeze. The more dots, the more powerful the move is, as I said. Look for the long wicks bouncing off this trend line. After 2 or 3 touches, a possible entry is there on that trend line. The goal is to enter when the dots are red and Momo is trending higher, like you see in this picture here. As Momo switches to teal, which we don't have any pictures here of that, but usually this indicator will turn yellow to teal when that's signaling bullish momentum as well. Like I said, double check RSI and MACD. So this kind of happens a lot throughout the week and even throughout the day. That's why I wanted to share it, because I do see it often and it's always recurring. So my next couple of slides, I have a couple of examples. So for this particular one, actually, is 6/3, 2022. This happened here where I know this was forming a base here, and we had the squeeze, it's following the trend line, and you can see right here, I got in right here and it kind of took off. I really don't have profit targets or anything like that. I'll just, when I'm satisfied, I'll take the money and run, because sometimes they fail the squeeze. And when they do fail, I typically short the break, because the squeeze could trigger a powerful move. So that being said, I have another example. This is another example from 5/17. We had a big downtrend here, and it started moving up, and then it started forming this trend line. So I drew this trend line, saw it bounce right here, but we weren't in a squeeze yet. Came down to here, and we don't have these wicks forming here, but I noticed there's some support here at this level. You have the 21 EMA on the 5-minute as well. Also, you have this trend, and you have the squeeze, you have the RSI, everything coming up. This was more of an aggressive trade for me, because I saw this squeeze, I saw this moving up, MACD going up. We just broke through this level here, and you can see I took my position a little more aggressively at this level and then popped off. The reason for this was mainly probably because I also noticed the ticks were probably strong at this point, and I saw that squeeze in the ticks, and that typically tells me if it's high ticks, it could be an explosive move. And this didn't even fire off yet. This is actually still building up some momentum or some consolidation. So I took this trade here just because I felt comfortable. I've been trading it for a while and I've seen this before. If you're a new trader or something, I wouldn't suggest hopping in like that. I'd wait for a more conservative entry around here. If you also look over here at 5/19, 2 days later, this nice one happened where you don't typically have a downtrend here, but you can notice it's kind of moving up in an uptrend here, and you're following this little trend line. All these big wicks right here hitting off of support, that's telling me, okay, there's some support at this level here. You know, we have this massive squeeze right here forming. You know, the MACD is kind of trending up. RSI is kind of neutral, but gradually moving higher. So what I like to do is, like I said, try to get in on the trend line. If you feel more comfortable being more aggressive, you know, feel free buying it up a little bit higher. You don't have to buy it on the trend line, but whatever you're comfortable with. You know, I would probably put the stop below some of these wicks here just to kind of give a little room to play, because sometimes you'll see these big dips and pop when you're in the squeeze, and I've noticed that lately they're pretty aggressive pops or wicks, so you might want to check that out. My next example is on 520. On 520, I saw this big downtrend happen, drew the trend line. We're in a squeeze here, saw these wicks, we're starting to form like this little base here. Everything's trailing up, and then I put my limit in here. I didn't show the execute, but I did get it filled, and then you can see about a few minutes later, we bounced and just shot up. And we were actually still in the squeeze, so this could actually run higher, and I think it did run higher that day, but sometimes I take profits at certain levels. If you watch my other videos I talk, my first video with my layout, I have what these indicators are in the background, so you can check out that video as well. But this is still in a massive squeeze. Anything over like 5 or 6, I think it's a pretty big squeeze. So I think this moves up to the upside that day, but hey, I caught that little, you know, 10-15 point move, whatever it was, and I'm out and I'm happy with that. The next happened on 524. You can see here, had this downtrend, started building a base, drew the trend line. All right, we're getting these long wicks in here. They're coming off the trend line. Okay, we're getting a squeeze. Everything's trending up. So I felt comfortable taking here. And then if you look right here, we had this nice little pop. So we went from what, 3,885 to about 10-15 points right there, and that moved depending where you got in when that squeeze started to form. This could always pull back before the squeeze fires, but you know, I'm happy taking some profits. Maybe you play it again if it does pull back, but trail your stops if you want. Just be conservative about it. Don't get too greedy here. Again, on 6/20/22, you can see had this little downtrend here. We started building a base, built this trend line. You see these wicks. You see these wicks happening. That's telling me, okay, maybe there's some support here. Let's see if I can get in on this trend line. Unfortunately here, the squeeze didn't form yet, but I saw the momentum moving up. Squeeze formed right here, so let's say if I felt a little more aggressive, I could say, hey, you know, let me buy that. Let me see if the momentum keeps coming up, and then the squeeze actually did form, and then it pops off. But this just comes after, you know, using this indicator and using the strategy over time. You'll start noticing, okay, what may happen, and you know, feel comfortable placing trades. So in any case, you got the trend line, you have these wicks forming, you have the momentum coming up, and then it formed a squeeze, I think, on right around here. So, you know, even if you caught it, maybe say, all right, let me see if we could get a bigger squeeze and catch it here, and you got lucky and boom, popped off. These squeezes are really powerful and can be explosive. My next one is on 525. So you can see how often these are occurring. These are occurring, you know, several times a week, so you can catch this a lot of times. This one particular one, we had this big sell-off here, following this trend line. You see these big wicks. We got a squeeze. Yeah, the MACD is kind of crossing here, so it's not ready yet. But you know, I saw RSI creeping up here, and you know that trend line. So maybe it pulled back, and that's why you see my fill order right here. And then a few minutes later, what happens? Boom, it takes off, and there you go. It still hasn't even fired a squeeze. Sometimes I get out too early, unfortunately, just because I want to secure profits because it's been volatile lately. But like I said, you can see how this squeeze works, how this momentum works, and following the trend line with these big wicks, and it's just quite powerful. This, like I said, might come back, touch resistance, and then our support and take off again, or it might shoot straight up with the volatility. Anything's happening, just trail your stops, and you could do pretty well. This is another one, 6/8/2022. If you look here, we have more of a base forming here rather than a downtrend, but I can see these wicks are bouncing off some support here, and then we're getting this little trend going here. Like I said, once you're trading it for a while, you can start seeing it. what I noticed was there's a base formula here. You get the wicks. We have RSI creeping up. We have the squeeze. We have the MACD. This is telling me, okay, this potential has a move up. So I hopped in, a little aggressive for the trade. Eventually, what is it, 6 to 8, a few minutes later, you can see, boom, took off. Right here, that's this right here, and then boom, just took off. Still in the squeeze, still moving up. Probably took off probably still goes, but I forget what happened that day. But in any case, be happy with those 10 points you got here, or whatever, 10, 15 points, and take your profits and run. Hope you enjoyed this. Post some comments in there if you have some questions. I'm going to share some links of how to get this in the Ninja Trading software. I found it on the site where you could just download it. All right, thank you. Have a good one.